My new favourite episode, just sat down with Frank Bunce, the amazing Frank Bunce, the legend.
For Bunce. Bunce in the gap. Frank Bunce.
You have never seen or heard from him like this before.
He rings me up and he goes, bro, you got to face the facts. I said, what's that? And he goes, you're never going to be a fucking All Black.
Growing up in Mangere, going to school, Mangere College, and just going through life, not really having any goals or aspirations.
I never really had a goal.
Really?
You know, when you're back there, you're just trying to live your life. You're just trying to get through today and tomorrow and next week. And, you know, whatever happens is going to happen.
Making Manu Samoa rugby team, playing in the World Cup 1991 and doing really well, making the semi-finals in their first ever World Cup.
You're in the bar with the coach and he's like, hey, we're training at 10, you know, and it's already 4. You know, you go, woo,
and being called Frank Bunce by the great Peter Fats.
Only played rugby for us once. Yeah, so every time from there on, for years later, oh, Frank Bunce.
Going to the 95 World Cup, what that was like, meeting Nelson Mandela, playing against South Africa in that World Cup. Did they get food poisoning? I asked the hard questions. Did they get food poisoning, and was it on purpose?
Really, we're in, you know, probably no state to go out and play. There was just so much at stake.
Playing with the great Jonah Lomu, what that was like, witnessing someone so special, you know, on the rugby field, who he thinks is the best ever rugby player in his opinion.
Whew, man.
And all of the stories in between. I think some of them we can play, some of them we can't, but they were all amazing, very funny. This episode is amazing, my new favourite one. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Frank Bunce, enjoy. This podcast is made by the amazing team at Fanaticals. They put up with me, so they're pretty epic. Frank Bunce, thanks so much for joining me, bro.
Pleasure, bro. Pleasure.
Man, we're having a good conversation off air. And I didn't want to name drop, but you know, you went to Mangere College, the same college my dad went to for I'm not sure how long, but you remember the old man?
Yeah, I do actually. I don't know whether I remember him specifically from school, but definitely around the area, you know, was just, you know, the family. Yeah. It was friends and family, you know, everyone sort of knew everyone back in those days, and we all sort of hung out together, and I didn't even know, to be honest, but I definitely remember him.
What did you remember about him? I don't often hear many stories about my dad as a youngster, and I'm always interested.
He was good, you know. He was because there was groups like you remember Sofeli family? Yes. Yeah. So you know, man, I should have thought about this before because I can see faces and remember things, but you know, the Kairi family and
Johnny
Kairi.
Yep.
All the, you know, heaps of guys, but I remember your father just being around in groups of people that were around at the time. You know, did he ever play rugby?
He was later on. He was more rugby league.
Yeah. But see, back in those days as well, we all used to hang out together, and you know, the guys from Manukau League used to come up to our club and, you know, have a few beers with us, and we'd be down there and we'd support each other and all that. So we're kind of, you know, we were kind of all in the same. You know, in the same groups and stuff like that for years and years too.
That's when he was running around. At first, it was called the Mangere Dogs.
Yeah. But and you know, we had families where they were, in terms of gang, you know, they were split down the middle. You know, one person in Black Power, one person in Mongrel, you know, brothers. Yeah. You know, and then that was, you know, it was a pretty tough area to grow up in.
What was it like growing up back then, bro?
It was awesome, actually. You know, you were free. You know, no one had any money, but you didn't really need, you know, a lot of money back in those days. There wasn't a lot to spend it on. Obviously, there wasn't a lot to really take your focus away. You know, from just living life. So we used to. I'm sure you've heard it. You know, you used to get up in the morning and go off and spend all day roaming around with your mates and hanging out and doing whatever. And then you go home and have dinner and then go to bed and stuff like that. And so growing up, you know, I think that's the main thing that I remember from back then was that you were free. You know, there was a lot more sense of freedom. And, you know, it wasn't dangerous, you know, as it seems to be now. So, you know, and your neighbours would, you knew all your neighbours, and they'd look after you, and they'd feed you if you had turned up, and stuff like that. And you were friends with everybody.
Yeah.
It was just a huge, big community. So I really enjoyed growing up there.
Yeah, and Niuean and Samoan.
Yep.
Mum and dad, which one?
Yeah, my father Pākehā. His parents were English.
Yep.
So that side, but he was in the Navy. So my mother, Niuean, born in Niue, her mother, Niuean, her father, half Samoan, actually. So that's where the Samoan part came. But we weren't really brought up, in that. It was like a lot of people coming over in those days, you know. Her family came over from Niue just to better themselves, and get jobs and things like that. And she met my father and had 8 kids.
8?
Basically in a row,
Wow.
My 2 older sisters were born in the same year.
Wow.
So, one in January, one in December. So 8 kids. 10 of us lived in Otara first.
Yeah.
And originally, because my father was in the Navy, we were in Devonport.
Yeah.
But with a lot of islanders too, actually.
Yeah.
In all the places now that are worth millions and millions. So we were born there, then we shifted there and moved out south, and then just been there for the rest of the time.
Yeah. What do you think? Because just talking with my father, and you mentioned some other names there and people that have that you grew up with. What do you think kept you on the path in terms of ending up where you are now compared to others in that same era?
It's a good question, actually. Probably not saying that your father was a bad person, but I never had a bad experience with anyone there. I felt safe the whole time, even when people had kind of separated, and gone their separate ways. If we ever run into people, it's a friendly, the meeting is friendly, and there's smiles and memories and things like that. So I'm not sure, to be honest. I guess I just wasn't that type of person. You know? You kind of, what's wrong, what's right, and, I just wasn't like bad kind of within me. Yeah. Which, again, I'm not saying that because you can turn into something. Yeah. If you wrong people, wrong circumstances, wrong timing, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, my dad puts it like, hanging around with other like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
So that's how he puts it.
So I just hung around with, some people down our end of the of the suburb, and we just did it turned into sports. Yeah, I guess. So we just stuck with that.
What was the goal, Bo, going through high school? Was it, because a lot of sports for a lot of us is the way out?
Yeah.
Was that how you viewed it?
No, not really, actually. That's my trouble, because I never really had a goal.
Really?
Yeah. And even my wife now, she's like, "What do you want to do?" I still don't really know. She goes, it's really frustrating her because life kind of happens to me. I don't plan, and if I had my time again, and I'm sure everyone says this, I would plan better. And I would have a goal. But, when you're back there, you're just trying to live your life. You're just trying to get through today and tomorrow and next week, and whatever happens is going to happen. So at school, I didn't, I mucked around, and I luckily I was able to to get decent grades, and only it was purely by chance, a lot of the time. I used to where we lived, so where Manukau Rugby League is now. So we used to live next door, but all the housing's been pulled down there now, but we'd live right next door, and the school was across the road. So, and they had they had sirens, not bells. Yeah. So I used to lie in bed, and I think it was 20 to 9, the first siren would go, and that was the one to go to your class. Yeah. So when I heard that one, I'd get up and then, have a quick wash, get dressed, and then get across the road in time, to go into the class for a 9 o'clock start and stuff like that. That's kind of how I did my schooling, and, never really had any lunch. You just, whatever was there, Yeah. So that was the way it just kind of was. But I didn't have a plan or anything, and our school wasn't really a sports school. We had a rugby team, and then I played a little bit in the lower grades, but not really. I was up at the club, but there was volleyball and basketball and a whole lot of different, because we had a huge mix of people in that school, and we were actually the first school that didn't cane, didn't have that punishment.
Really?
As a secondary school.
Yeah.
So there was no straps, and I'd come through primary school and intermediate school and stuff like that where you got strapped, for whatever, and then got to Māngere College and they didn't have any punishments there like that. So that was quite good. And if there's ever one school that needed it, it was probably. But no, again, fond memories.
Yeah.
And the schooling, it was good. It was good. We had good people, good teachers.
Yeah.
I enjoyed my school time. My report always used to say, everywhere I went, could have done better. So.
And what did you get up to after high school?
I just got a job actually at this. So I came through, even earlier, intermediate, and
yes.
delivering papers, the Herald and the Courier and all that sort of stuff, and riding around in the morning.
I had one of those. I hated that job. I think a teacher gives you some resilience, though.
Yeah, exactly. Get up in the morning, early in the morning, go and pick up your papers and cycle up there and just.
Did you ever just not do it and just let the
exactly
let the papers pile up?
Yeah, and not with the Herald, but with the Courier, because you had about 100. That was free. Yeah. So not everyone was paying for the Herald, but with the Courier, you had hundreds of
Yeah, man.
Sometimes, and I have to admit, you'd ride down to the creek. Straight in the creek.
We just had so many stocked up in our garage.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. I remember we were having to do it, and we did it in a wheelbarrow.
Oh yeah.
And our wheelbarrow had flat tires, and I'd always be so embarrassed when the bus would come past with all my schoolmates, and it was.
Yeah. Yeah. When I finished school, I just got a job. That's a big regret of mine, actually. That is one regret is leaving school. I didn't finish I finished sixth form, but I didn't go into seventh form.
Yeah.
So I should have, knowing what I know now. Back then, I just wanted to sort of get out and earn some money and, have some money in my pocket and all of that and contribute, So I did that. But again, if I had my time again, I'd get qualifications and things like that.
Were you playing rugby at this point?
Yep. I was playing rugby at Manukau, and I'd played there since I was, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
Just gone along with a bunch of friends and hooked up with the team and, just came through the grades there.
Yeah.
And, that place had, anyone and everyone, came through the doors there.
Yeah.
And we had, and it would have been a whole lot of guys that your dad knew as well.
Yeah.
That lived down on Viscount Street.
Yes.
And all around that area, that was pretty much the catchment.
Yeah.
So and it was because the league club wasn't there at the time where it is. Yeah, we pretty much were the only sports club around.
Yeah.
And people just used to go there and play and have a good time and do their thing.
Yeah. When did you realise that you might be able to make something out of rugby?
Not for. Because I'd go through and I'd play, and I'd be good, in the clubs and stuff like that, and that was all good. But I started when I got a little bit older. I started making. I didn't actually make. I got picked for trials, for representative teams in Auckland and stuff like that. And a lot of those ones I'd go to, but I wouldn't make the team. Wow. You play in all these trials and all that, and then they'd name the team and wouldn't get named, and it was that went on for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And then one day. You a little bit despondent about it. It's like, and rugby, it wasn't a professional sport. It was like, the All Blacks are there and, well, shit, that'll be awesome. That's, I'd love to be up there. But what am I going to do about it? Nothing really. I'll just keep trying and hope for the best. When you don't make it, you're not selected in all these teams, you get a little bit down about it and think, oh, well, maybe it's just not going to happen. But I was still enjoying myself, still being a young kid and a little bit of mischief and stuff like that. But yeah, just kind of went through that. And it wasn't until way later on that I actually made a few teams, under I can't remember now, but, under 19s or something, under 18s, when you're around that age. And that's generally when you're at your worst, as a teenage boy, just kind of coming into sort of, trying to figure out what you are and who you are and all that.
Testosterone.
Yeah, exactly. And all your mates around and everyone's like, oh. Yeah. So I got picked in a couple, and you still get named to go to trials and stuff like that. And then it started happening. But, I started in like Auckland C and then Auckland B, and so I went the long way.
Yeah.
And I think it probably wasn't until I kind of made around that Auckland C and Auckland B team when I was kind of, 20-ish, 21, kind of in there where you think, oh, you never know.
Yeah.
And then, get selected in the B team and play with them. And then play with a few guys, that were in the Auckland A team, and so they were up and down and all that. But, you start mixing and rubbing shoulders with those guys and it's kind of...
Who were some of those players from back in those days?
Terry Wright, remember him?
Yeah.
Lindsay Harris, he was from out west. But there were heaps of guys that came through. No, there were lots of real good people, real good people that came through, and you just kind of get dragged along with it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you so easygoing, sort of see how it goes, but you still had that perseverance to keep. What kept you pushing through? Because I mean, if you look at I think you made the All Blacks at 30.
Yeah.
Which is again pretty late to debut. Yep. But so you had that perseverance. What was it that kept you going?
I was enjoying myself actually, and I didn't have the goal, If I had put everything I had into becoming an All Black and didn't make it, probably would have suffered a whole lot more. But where you go, not that I wouldn't have loved to be an All Black, and whenever, I think because I didn't stress myself really and thinking, man, I really want this and I'm going to drive and, everything is all about, achieving that. I was still enjoying myself. I was kind of getting enough out of it, in terms of experience.
Yeah.
And experiences, and a little bit of traveling and a little bit of, I just stuck at it because I was enjoying myself. And we were around a whole lot of good people, Peter Fats, Joe Stanley, there was some real good people that I...
those days would have been fun, eh, bro?
Oh, it was awesome. Peter Fats, the day I heard that he'd passed away, for me, that was the biggest, the biggest loss. Like now, you talk about him, and people have these memories, and he was just a.
What's your favourite memory of him, bro?
Oh man, there are so many. I'll tell you my last one. And this is not long before he died. Actually, he rings me up and he goes, "Bro, yes, want to go to the Virgin Islands?" And I said, "Where's the Virgin Islands?" And he goes, "I don't fucking know. You want to go or not?" He goes, "You want to fucking go or not?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, relax." He goes, "Fuck." Okay. I said, yep. He goes, "Okay, we're going to do this." And he said, "Go over for this fundraiser." He goes, "Okay, I'll sort it out." So Auckland, Sydney, Los Angeles, Miami, somewhere else, and then to the Virgin Islands.
Wow.
And we got there and we were like, all over the place. And, this is Fats all over. So we get there and we've been traveling for what seemed like days and got there, I think it was sort of mid-morning or something. These guys picked us up and they said, "Oh, do you want to stop and go and have a beer or something?" It's like, I was going, no. And Fats goes, yep. And the whole thing was like that for ages. And we were down there just to raise some money. So they took us down to this place and we had to go and watch this game. And he goes, "Fuck, bro, they want us to play." And I was going, fuck, I'm not playing. Bear in mind, we were both retired and stuff. We said, "I'm not playing, bro." And he goes, "No, we have to. That's why they brought us over." I was going, no. So I said, "I'm not playing. He goes, "Oh, well, okay, I'm going to play." So, and it was a local derby, and, pretty important in the scope of things there. So Fats goes ahead and scores the winning try for the home team.
Wow.
And they went crazy, everyone, and they loved him, man. They loved him. And he scored his try and he turned around. I was sitting on the sideline and he walks back past me and he looked over and he goes, gives me that big wink. And then they loved him. he could do no wrong, for the rest of the week we were there.
Yeah.
But when we come back, he rang up. There was a Samoan guy, I can't remember his name now, but he was playing for the Miami Dolphins. And Fats rang him. So we stopped in Miami, and Fats rang him. And, he was all over Fats. Anything he could do for Fats, he was. And he sent this guy to pick us up in this car. He met us at this hotel. He said, he couldn't. He said, I would have loved to have you guys at my house, but he goes, I've got family there because we're doing this other thing. And he goes, but I'll put you up in this hotel. He's put us up in this flash-ass hotel. Said to the lady, anything these guys want, I'm paying for it. So, give it to them. And so, that was, Fats was just all over. And we got home, and he was telling me, I was talking to Anne actually, and he goes, I think I'm not sure if this is when he actually passed, but he goes, man, I go to, he goes, you go and you leave the airport, you're leaving the country, you go to the airport, wife takes you to the airport and stuff. I said, yeah, and he goes, you do all your thing, and you get to that point where it's the last time you're going to see them, you turn around, and turn around like that. The wife and kids are there, Anne's holding the kids and stuff, and he goes, turn around and just give your last goodbye. He goes, yeah. And he goes, so I do that, turn around, there she is with the kids. And she goes, and Anne goes like this. And I was telling her about that, but he's going, that guy, because he must have been so hard to live with. But he, such a great character, and what he did for Samoan rugby especially, and even boxing, when he started, because he was fighting his first fight in the early fight for life. Ricky Cowan, big league boy from, back in the day. And good, lovely guy and all that. And Dean's ringing me up going, is Fats training? And I'm going, fuck, I don't know, man. I'm fucking, And he's going, fuck, you better, because Ricky, man, he's training the house down. And I don't want Fats to get hurt. I was going, yeah. So, I'm, Fats, are you training? Yeah, I'm training. You sure? Fucking, And he got pissed off, Fats. He said, fucking stop. And he goes, I'm fucking training, and fucking don't worry about me. And then get in the ring, and Ricky, they're going for it. But, Fats didn't knock him out, but he bloody staggered him. But Fats, he goes, because he comes from a boxing family as well. Eh?
Yes.
So, most Samoans did, eh? But, those early days. Shit, the fight for life. There's so much going on, eh? It was new, and it was fun, and shit, it was good.
Those were some good scraps.
Yeah, and everyone bought into it. And,
you've had a fight
few,
for life.
Yeah. Tia Ropati was my first.
Oh, how'd that go?
Yeah, I beat him.
Yeah,
but it was, I'm not a boxer. You can't. What didn't seem right, punching your mate in the head. I said, because who was coach? Oh, Lance Revel was our coach.
Yeah, and, Lance Revel, he's a hard man.
Oh, yeah. We were saying to him when we first went, because me and Rushy were training with him.
Yeah.
And Rushy was a boxer as well, too.
Yes.
But, we'd go and train with him, and Lance is showing us around his gym. And he was going, oh, yeah. And then, he's got all the photos of all the old boxers, all Islanders, too, man.
Yeah.
And he was going, oh, yeah, this guy. And then I fought this guy, We're going, oh, didn't you fight any white guys, bro?
Yeah, I remember those were some hard days back then, because my old coach, Mark Bedford, was from that same era. Yeah. Just hard.
Hard. Man. That was the one thing that, I remember, because boxers, and proper boxers, were coming into the Lance's gym and, come and chat to the guys and stuff like that. And, noses over here, ears out here, fingers all over the place. But, and they were tough, and you could just feel, could just feel something about them, eh?
Yeah.
That sport in those days, man, like you can imagine.
Yeah.
Right.
But I always wanted to ask you, what was that Bledisloe Cup when you had that fight? What was this? What was
Michael Bryle.
Michael Bryle.
Yeah.
Why didn't you punch him in the head? I just remember it. I was going, Frank, because man, I was, obviously loved the All Blacks, watching you, and that was the heyday, man. Hey, Bledisloe Cup. What year was that? 90.
It was 96 or
96 Bledisloe Cup.
Yes.
And he just unleashed.
Yeah.
I mean, that must have taken some composure not to.
Well,
why didn't you?
Yeah, only because he was punching me too quickly. Must have learned that from boxing, Yeah. No, because I elbowed him. You know, I bent down and
Oh, so you actually started it.
Yeah. So I bent down to pick the ball up, and when I looked up, and he was right there in my face, so I put my elbow up and, you know, got him fair in the face, and his head flicked back, and then he just came forward and started punching, and it was just, it was just you know, he wasn't really hitting me, but
good self-defense. It was good defense. You had the ball there and everything.
Yeah. So I thought, and then it stopped, and then it was over. Yeah. So I think Dino asked him if he wanted to do a fight with me but he didn't. He's got no interest, he said. So,
what about now?
Yeah, two old fellas.
Is it still in you? I reckon you still got it in you to get him back.
Yeah, well, one day. He lives in Queenstown, so.
We'll put it on we'll raise some money for our charity. Yeah. We'll put it. Yeah. I reckon, hey, I'm serious. Let's make this happen.
Yeah. No, I don't think
I'm seeing Dave Higgins later on.
Yeah. It's about the time David Higgins stepped into the ring, isn't it?
Him and Eddie Hearn.
Yeah.
It's funny. Dave Higgins didn't get into many fights when we were young because we were mates.
Yeah. Funny that.
Yeah. But, bro, so you made the Samoan team first, right? What was that like? Was that in 91 or 90 and then you played in the World Cup in 91?
Yeah. So I was, and that was Fats again.
Yes.
You know, he'd been asking me because he knew of my mother's, my background. And he knew of the village, you know, from Savaii.
Yeah.
And so he knew all of that. And he just said, you know, you should come and play for us. And Samoa, because they weren't in the 87, you know, the first World Cup was 87, and they weren't in it. And, you know, they're a huge rugby nation too, you know, they loved it.
Yeah.
And so they made it. They qualified in 91, and then they started building their team. And BG was, he was kind of tasked with doing that, and he was one of the main coaches. So Fats just started. They were saying that they were just looking around, you know, at different people and seeing histories and things like that.
Yeah.
And so Fats just started, you know, come and play for us, man. You know, you should. And then, you know, in the back of my mind, because I'm kind of at the time, you know, I was a provincial player too, and because I had an All Black trial in 1986.
Oh, okay.
But I got injured. I got injured playing club rugby before I went down to play in the trial. And see, Fats was in it too. And I said, oh man, what did I strain? Oh, that was my ankle. But yeah, twisted my ankle, you know, playing. And I said, oh, fuck, I can't run properly, bro. And he goes, well, fuck. And he goes, what are you thinking? I said, I'm not sure if I should play. And he goes, nah, fucking just play. He goes, you know, you came down here anyway, you might as well play. Just give it all you got. You never know. Fuck, I had a terrible. I think I got rated 4 out of 10. You know, they used to do those ratings in the paper. I think I got 4 out of 10. And then, anyway, but so he went off to Samoa, and they're, you know, in preparation for that 91 Cup, and he started asking me, you know, what do you reckon? Then and I was hanging off, you know, I was thinking, I just couldn't make that decision, make that step. And then he rings me up and he goes, bro, and he goes, you got to face the facts. I said, what's that? And he goes, you're never going to be a fucking All Black. Fuck. I said, fuck, I think you're right. And he goes, fuck, come with us, man. And I said, okay, yep, I'm in. So that was the thing. Then I moved from Auckland. So the Samoan coach, Peter Schuster, and he rang up and he said, you know, we need you to be playing, you know, before we go to the Cup. I can't have you just playing club rugby and, you know, a few, you know, Auckland games or something. But he said, if you're willing, you know, change over to North Harbour and, you know, get some more game time and stuff. So I did that.
Yeah.
And just all bloody happened from there. Just all unfolded.
Yeah. You guys did pretty well in that World Cup then as well.
Yeah. We so our very first game was against Wales at Carter Farms Park. And that was awesome, you know, because all of those things, you know, for a rugby kid, you know, in New Zealand, and you always watch the All Blacks, you know, get up in the middle of the night and, you know, watch them play Wales and, you know, whoever. But so I was familiar with all the, you know, Carter Farms Park and Twickenham and all of that. And for us to be playing there, the build up, you know, we were there for a week, maybe a little bit longer actually, training all the time, and we lost a couple of props early, so we had to bring in a couple of replacements, and of course, we were bloody having a few beers and stuff like that during the week, and so
the stuff you just would never do nowadays, eh?
Exactly.
But is that what made it still fun? Back then, you know?
Yeah. It, not just the drinking. It wasn't, you drink because it was fun, but you're with your mates, and there was no, the coach didn't tell you, not to do things. It's like, as long as you can train, you can front up when you have to. I don't care what you do. So where you could eat, and it's a lot more scientific now. Everything is, and we'd eat and we'd have a few beers, and but we'd go and train, and then I think and there were no rest days and stuff like that, no rehabilitation, no nothing like that. The day we play Wales, and we won, and it was awesome, and it was a huge thing because they were confident, but they'd never played against 15 Islanders. And I remember Apollo Perellini, because he put off 2 guys. I think he broke these guys' collarbones, both of them, just with tackling. And the tackling rules were all over the place. Yeah. Well, they didn't exist really. And he was just.
Was Brian Lee Maher in that team as well?
Yeah.
And he was a hit man.
Oh. Just an aside, I was with Freddie. There was another guy, Freddie Tuilangi.
Yes. Oh, the Tuilangi brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And he's the older one, and he was with us, in that 91 team. And I was just with him, actually. We're over in Angola because we do this.
It's Greg told me about this. What the fuck were you doing in Angola?
Yeah. I get that question. Most people go, "What the fuck were you doing in Mongolia?" I was fucking in Angola. Oh, what the fuck were you doing in Angola? But we do this. We've been working for this charity. It's called 100 World Legends, and it's just a name. There's not 100. But,
it's marketing. Just a marketing thing.
Exactly. It sounded better than 5 World Legends. So. So we went up there. We do this work, and do just with kids, and kids who need help, raise money for them, do bits and pieces. And so we went up there, and Freddie, he's up there. He turns up in a Samoan dress, and he's got long black hair now, and Wild just turns up, and people up there. And there were kids in the villages, and man, they were you should have seen them. Never seen anything like it. And he gets up and he's dancing and he's, talking, and he's just a huge character. It was also, they loved him. They loved him. And, but I was saying to him, we were reminiscing about 1991, because he was, I don't know, 18 or something like that.
Wow.
And Brian was around the same, 17, 18, 19, in that region. I said, bro, I remember when we came over, there's another guy, To'o Vainga.
Oh, yes.
And he was like real. So me and To'o, we came from New Zealand and went over. We had to play a trial in Samoa. Yeah. And the 2 people we marked in the midfield there, Freddie and Brian. Oh. And we were going, fuck it. And man, it was, and then again, the rules were different, and everything was just, because, Brian's nicknamed the chiropractor.
Yes.
And they're going, fuck. And, he was like mid-30s, late 30s, and he's getting all this all the talk about the chiropractor. Who was it? I said, fuck, you should have marked him when he was fucking 19 and 20 and 20. Fuck, it was a killer. But, it was awesome, so awesome to be. And, I wouldn't have been where I am. I wouldn't have made it into the All Blacks had it not been for Samoa. And we went over there and played, and we made the quarterfinals.
Yes.
We lost to Scotland. But, all the way through, played Wales, won, celebrated, late, in the bar with the coach, and he's like, hey, we're training at 10, and it's already 4. Woo, fucking. That went on, and we played on Saturday, Wednesday. So, and we did the same thing all the time. We lost to Australia only just, but, that was great. And then we lost to, we beat Argentina, then got into the quarterfinal, and we celebrated, man, and we just enjoyed ourselves and loved every minute of it. And then it was over all too soon. We got to Scotland, played, and possibly overwhelmed, by the situation and stuff like that. But so they beat us. But I reckon if we had to play them the following week even, or few days later, I reckon we would have done much better.
Yeah.
But then we on the plane and back. But just that was, I wouldn't say that was the beginning of rugby in Samoa, but it was certainly a huge boost, and brought a whole lot of pride and everything. So
did it sort of light a fire as well to try and to set that goal to make the All Blacks?
Yeah, well, not really, because I was happy.
Yeah.
We'd had this experience. I'd made my decision. And I would have happily spent the rest of my time playing for Samoa, and I would have been retired like that. Beautiful, awesome, and but then the All Blacks had a really poor 1991 World Cup, and so they made changes when they came back. And this guy Laurie Mains down in Dunedin, he became the coach, and he rang me up, and like gruff and like Southern man, sort of. He goes, Laurie Mains, he goes, do you want to be an All Black? I was like, well, and he goes, well, I like what you did at the World Cup. I had my eye on you. He said, and I've seen you playing provincial rugby. And he goes, I'll give you a chance. He said, if you want to take the chance, I'll give you a chance. He goes, I'm not fucking promising anything. I'm not saying you're an All Black, but I'll give you a fair chance. I was like, oh, fuck. So, I had to weigh that up. Then I had to make that decision. And, then I realized that in the back of my mind, fuck, I guess I always did want to be an All Black.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't turn the chance down.
How did you tell Fats?
Oh, it wasn't like he was like, fucking hell. He was all right. He wasn't real, but then he started calling me Frank Bunce. He goes, fucking hell, only played rugby for us once. So every time from there on, for years later, oh, Frank Bunce. So that was that. But, all worked out.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But I had some great times going back to Samoa, still did a little bit of coaching and helped out, and, played some sevens over there. And
so I didn't realise you're a quarter Samoan?
Yeah,
yeah. Man, because we just claimed you. I've always thought of you as full Samoan.
Yeah. Oh, I still get, people come out, and I can't speak Niuean or Samoan either. The basics like everybody from out there does. But I used to get people come up to me and talk to me, straight away in Samoan, just start talking, and I'm going, oh, fuck, I can't. But even now, but I'm proud of my Samoan, the part I have got of me. And my uncle, an uncle of mine, I was in Niue actually, and we were on the radio, and this Niuean guy rang up and started questioning, and my uncle, this Niuean, who knew all about, he knew a lot of the history, and it was getting a bit heated on the radio, and so he was just saying, how come I can go and represent them, but I'm saying I'm Niuean, and then I'm, so he just didn't understand the.
It's an interesting thing, that.
Yeah.
The way some people look at it.
Yeah, exactly. My uncle, after we'd finished the radio interview, my uncle was trying to get that guy's address from the. Who was it? Oh, fuck.
Well, it's not a very big place, Niue.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I loved it there. I went there once for a holiday. It was amazing.
Yeah. It's good. You just go back and relax, and man. I
was looking for another resort. Like, I was just having a look around. And all of a sudden, we've gone around the whole island. I was, oh shit.
Yeah.
And but I loved it. Loved it.
Oh, it's good.
What was Laurie Mains like as a coach, bro?
Oh, he was hard. He was, that whole Southern man thing, and he came in because real, disciplinarian, and it was his way or bloody the highway, basically. Yeah, but I think rugby at the time needed it, because Auckland were the dominant team, and the All Blacks had been dominant for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But they had that 91 thing, and there's a bit of infighting going on. Alex Wiley and John Hart didn't get on, but they were put together, and all of this was going on. But when Laurie came in, he just said, right, fucking, he brushed a whole lot of people that had been there for years, and brought in some of his own and his own style. But he was tough. He was a hard man, and worked you hard and trained you hard, and it was all, I wouldn't say it was a step back in time, but a little bit, just the way he spoke to people.
Yeah.
He was direct, If he thought you were he'd tell you straight to your face.
Well, that's better than saying it behind your back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he'd just, he'd everything he promised, he did. If he didn't like you, he didn't like you. That was it. And he'd tell you the reasons, and he'd be straight up with phone calls and all of that sort of stuff. So I actually really enjoyed, that directness, and it's just that was I found even the the fact that like you're getting thrashed basically, and but I found that I reacted quite well to it, just being. I didn't care if he was abusing, like, a little bit's personal. It's like, fucking, you can fucking, all that. And you just go, okay. If you're not going to fucking. One time he told our doctor, we were playing in Scotland, and our doc came on, and he goes, Frank, Laurie said, and he'd been, that was before cell phones and stuff like that. But
so he's come on the field.
Yeah, the doc. Yeah. He said, because Laurie kept saying to him, fucking go and tell Frank to fucking get off of it. But yeah, Doc came on, he goes, Frank, Laurie said, if you don't stop fucking around, fucking, just get off and fucking. I was going, fuck, I'll tell you, all of that sort of stuff. But, I didn't mind it. Yeah. I didn't mind it. It's, you just deal with it. And after that game, I was having a shower, and he comes into the shower, and he stands there, and I looked at him, and he goes, if I'd bought my gun today, I would have fucking shot you. And then he turned around and walked off, and I'm having a shower going, fucking hell.
What makes it funny is because you're such an easygoing guy, I can just imagine, fucking... Yeah.
Laurie, pass my shampoo. But no, it was good. I reacted, for me, that was good. I didn't mind it. I kind of... talking to him late, years and years later, he said, he knew that so he could pick on a few people.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was used to get the team sort of revved up.
Yeah.
And he said later on, once you figure out that, I can take it and such can take it, and, someone else can't take it, he said, then you pick on the ones that can take it, because that shows the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to do any damage,
Yeah.
So he said he kind of used that. As we went on to, and I didn't mind.
Yeah. So the 95 World Cup, was that a lot different to the 91 World Cup with Samoa? Was no partying and stuff in between those games?
No, well, a little bit. Not as much, definitely not as much. But that was, one thing, when you would go from Samoa to the All Blacks, everything was a lot more serious, and the level, everything just went boom, up to, what was expected of you, how you had to perform, everything.
Was the game professional then at 95, or was it?
No, it was the next year, 96, it became professional. But they were all in talks, and there was a whole lot of stuff going on at the time, which was a fucking pain. We had to go to all these meetings in 1995 and just listen to people talking about, money, basically.
Yeah.
We can do this and what we'll do, and then we'll do, and, you're sitting there going, fucking hell, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
So we told Eric Rush, who was a lawyer, you go and represent us, because we're sick of going to the meetings.
Yeah.
And if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for us.
Wow.
That's all. And he said, fuck, all right. So
and he's onto a businessman too, Eric Rush.
Exactly. That actually, all of that period of time, I think it encouraged him to give up law, actually. He said it was just, he didn't want to be in that area, all the negotiations, everything about money and just people. He said it just wasn't a good scene for him.
Yeah.
So he got out of there and went painting with his father. You had to paint houses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Before he later on got into supermarkets.
Yeah, now he owns is it a pack and save somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, whangarei.
Far out.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
He's a good man, yeah. And he does, so much for the community.
Yeah.
He used to, when he was in Otara, East Taunki, and he used to, he'd coach kids there and stuff like that, and he'd fundraise and he'd take them all back to Samoa and send them out to their villages to learn. He did heaps of stuff like that.
Yeah,
and he's been really good for any community that he goes into.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about him.
Yeah,
I have to get him on here.
Oh, there's plenty of bad things.
But bro, the 95 World Cup final, the whole food poisoning thing. So take us through that. Was that legit? What happened?
Well, the only thing that was legit about it was that it happened.
Yeah.
But, the mystery around it is, was it somebody, was it deliberate, was it, there were guys who were sick, there were heaps of guys sick, had, you're spewing, had the runs and stuff like that. And so there was a lot of that went on.
Yeah.
That
was the week of the final, right?
Yeah. There was definitely people sick, but, the question was, how did it happen? And was it, because, they get all these things, bookies in London and, some local South African lady came in and poisoned the food and stuff like that. And, so it definitely happened. And it put us off. There were guys that were, sick for a few days, couple of days, and just weakened, when you're spewing and you can't eat properly and stuff like that. So really we're in, probably no state to go out and play. But there was just so much at stake, which is what someone was saying the other day, actually, the manager. Then they were thinking, we can't pull out of this. It's just so, you can't go, we've got a World Cup final on Saturday. No, we're not. Play it on Sunday. We're okay to play it on Sunday or next Saturday. Imagine the upheaval that would cause. So basically it was just like, we'll just go out there and do our best. And it wasn't, we still had chances to win.
Yeah.
We had a few guys had to step up, from the reserve bench and stuff, but it is what it is, and it turned out to be the best thing in the world for South Africa.
Yeah.
Sure, we lost the World Cup final, but
Yeah.
really at that stage, South Africa needed it more than we did.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, eh?
Yeah. So it's, and it still comes up all the time. Even when I was in Angola, I had to stop in Johannesburg and just get talking to people there. And that comes up all the time, And people who weren't even born when that happened, they're still, they know about it. It's like, what, But, was it like that period of time in their history was pretty important to them. So, it's all good. But, we got to travel over there and Nelson Mandela, meet him and, all of this. And
what was it like meeting him?
Oh, just, the presence, you just see him and it's just like, oh, fucking hell. And then it's unbelievable. It's, so we were talking the other night because a group of us went to have dinner with the current All Black team.
Yeah, what was the vibe like there, Bo? You say you've gone into the current camp.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. And, we're talking about, because again, some of them weren't even born when we were doing that tour and have never been to South Africa, have never played at altitude, have never been on a long tour, where there were midweek games and then, all of that. So it was new to a lot of them. And some of them are more experienced, but had never done a full proper tour. So that was really good. They had had good feedback and really good vibe. There's a nice positive kind of vibe, in that whole camp, and
That's good.
Everyone's smiling. They all work hard, and so and we were just chatting to them, about what we were doing. But Rushy had brought up that Glenn Osborne, because Rushy was saying, tell them what what was your question to Nelson Mandela? And he goes, just because I've been reading up a little bit about him, and, if I get the chance to meet him, oh man, that's going to be so awesome. And he goes, and he read that he'd lived in this mud hut, and that he was brought up in, and he goes, and then when, he came up and he shook my hand and he goes, and all I could do was go, and he goes, and I was just going, and he said, no. And then he goes, and he goes, I said to him, have you still got your mud hut? And he goes, in his answer, he goes, and I was going, he goes, even when I said it, he said, I was going, oh, fuck. And he goes, and then he said to me, yes, Mr. Osborne, he goes, I do still have my mud hut because it's very important not to forget where you come from.
Wow.
And he goes, and then I went, oh.
Oh, shivers.
Yeah. So that was the kind of thing, and, I don't know if the South Africans knew it, but, they brought him down during that final just before kickoff, and he came down, and the crowd, because when we ran on the field, it was just, the atmosphere was just so huge. It was just pumping, you could feel, everything just coming down, and, so you're nervous and everything, and I was like, wow. And then you look out, and the crowd just roars, and there he is walking down, and you just look at. But that was supposed to gee them up, but it did the same for us too, because
wow.
you see him come down, and you just go, God, man, that's, so it was really exciting for us as well. And then get to meet him and, just shake, just to be in the presence. We'd meet him at a function earlier, but just to be in the presence, of someone like that. And when someone's got that sort of presence, you feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, they mean something, and, everyone was familiar with what he'd been through. And, we've been through fucking nothing when it compared to someone like that.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and then he does so much good, for his country. And then, shit was awesome.
What an experience.
Yeah.
Speaking of presence, you played a lot with then Jonah Lomu, right?
Yeah.
What was that like? When you being in 30 and playing along and then seeing a guy like Jonah come along?
Yeah. Awesome, because young island boy, who come from nothing. He lived around the corner from us, in Mangere there, and but he'd come through pretty much the same thing as every other young island boy of that time, and big family, didn't have a lot, was just had natural ability and and shy as anything and polite, and respectful, all of that you'd seen in a million other, island boys.
Yeah.
But, he had something special about him. And a lot of his, even see Rushy again, he took Jonah, because he started talking to us about Jonah.
Yeah.
Oh man, this young Tongan boy, he goes, I've seen him at such and such, and, he goes, I want to see if he wants to come on these, so he used to take him on sevens trips.
Yeah.
All these different, I think he took him to Raro first. And then, and he'd play.
Yeah.
And he'd say, fuck, come back. When they come back, he'd go, man, this guy, you should see him, fast as anything. And he was playing him in the forwards and stuff too. But he said, man, just so quick and, the balance and fucking hell. And so he took him on a few trips. And, so Rushy had a huge part in his development.
Yeah.
And the good thing with Rush, Rushy's not just taking them overseas to, rugby-wise, he'll take them over there, and it's about growth as a person and experience, and so he's under Rushy's kind of
guidance and tutelage.
Yeah, exactly, and in a lot more things than just rugby.
Yeah.
So he put him on the right path and did well, but Jonah was just a guy that you could always rely on him.
Was that the plan back in those days? Was it the game plan? Get the ball to Jonah?
Shit, yeah. If you had a Jonah, people used to say that. Well, they say it more now than back then. Fuck you guys, all you did was, get the ball to Jonah and then back up. I said, fucking course it was, man. It's fucking hell. And, get the ball off the top of the line, within 2 passes, you could have the ball to Jonah, and he's got all this room, and then you just back him up, because he'll beat 1, 2, 3 people, and then if he doesn't score, he'll pass it inside here because he's just so strong and big and stuff like that. You call him to do something, like if we're standing ready to attack, and then Jonah's off on his wing, you say, Jonah, come and do such and such, and we'll do say, Walter, we'll give you the ball, and he'll do such as a. He goes, oh, okay, do that, and then he'll go and do this move that we've got, and he'll if he doesn't score, he'll beat 3 or 4 people. Then go back, same position, not long after. Jonah, come and do it. I can't. Well, what's wrong? I said, no, I can't. I'm just, I just need a rest. We go, fuck, just fucking do it. Fucking do it. And he go, oh, okay. And then he'd do it, and then he'd do the same thing again, beat, so I think he was a little bit, he was definitely shy.
Yeah.
But, he's a little bit, he wasn't, 100% sure of his own ability, really.
Yeah.
So he didn't have that full confidence. But he could do anything.
So, Bo, I think it was when Jonah against England, and he just ran over that final video, right, when he just ran over the cat, like literally ran him over.
Yeah.
What was that like? Being on the field with watching that destruction?
Yeah, exactly, man. We because we'd actually built him up to because the English were starting to say. Because that was kind of his first showing, on the world stage, and people were starting to say, he's never been tested, this guy, young guy, and we're we were saying to Jonah, oh, man, look, they don't even respect you, what's going on? So he was just in his head, he was going, wow, yeah. And then we got lucky, a couple of, good tries that he got and stuff like that. But he was humming by then, he could do no wrong. So and that was, where you were saying before about get the ball to Jonah as quick as possible. Yeah. And that was pretty much, when he was in that form, you just get him the ball and then just watch, sit back and watch. But, that was certainly that whole World Cup, not just that fight, that game there, but that was him at the very best he could be. Yeah.
And how would he go in the current game, Jonah Lomu?
I think with all the improvements, in science and stuff like that, and if he wasn't sick, because you got to ask, did we even see the best of him? Because he was so sick. But I think he would any era. He's big and fast and balanced and strong. I guess now, he'd probably be even better because now they've got so much more science around, diet and training and recovery and all of that stuff, which we didn't, we didn't have.
I think he'd dominate past, present and future.
I think so.
Who was the best player you've played with, you reckon? It's a hard one. You've played with so many, or a group of them, maybe. Make it easy.
I reckon. I really liked playing with Zinzan Brook because he was, he was a natural as well, and he had a tough attitude. He was from up north. Grew up in a family of hard workers, boys. And they all played and they all worked, and and he was like his attitude. He could, he'd take a risk if it didn't work. Fuck it, I'll do it again. Yeah. You see him drop kick. Yes. In test matches, and no number 8 was doing that. Yeah. In the world, but then he was, he had the confidence to do it. If he messed it up, he'd do it again, and just to try and sort it. But I liked his attitude. Yeah. But I was just thinking the other day, actually, I reckon the best player that I've ever played with, and take away Jonah, but the best all-rounder is Michael Jones.
Oh, so Michael, man. Yeah. And a great man.
Exactly.
A great guy.
Yeah, exactly. And that guy could, man, he could play anywhere. He can tackle, he can run, he can do everything, and all was such a, like a beautiful persona, and and he's softly spoken and polite, and just it's smart as anything. Yeah. And like you're saying, great guy. Look at the things he's done for Samoa, for New Zealand, for the community, for whatever.
His village food bank, everything is there. Yeah. Like you're saying about aura and presence. Like when I meet him, I'm like, man, it's like, I feel that.
Yeah. No, I reckon he's when he came out and he was playing, he was a flanker, and then he broke his leg, I think it was, and then he came back and he had to kind of reinvent himself as in another position, still a flanker, but you get the open side and the blind side, and the open side's the one that roams a lot more, and and that was totally suited to him. But then when he broke his leg, he's not quite as mobile as he used to be, so he switches over to the other side, who has to do a lot more work, and he becomes the best in the world at that position as well. And you could play him in the backs, you could play him on the wing.
They called him. His nickname was the Iceman.
Yeah.
Why did he get that nickname?
Just because he was just so calm about everything. Yeah. The whole persona thing. You never see him flustered. You never see him sort of angry. I don't think I've ever seen him angry. Must ask him if he's ever been angry.
Oh, yeah, actually, I've never seen him angry.
Yeah. He's always polite and smiling. Yeah. So, but yeah, as an all rounder, and you get everyone, there's a lot of talk about, who's the best player in the world, or the best positions and stuff like that. And, for me, Michael Jones, he's been the best New Zealand, All Black ever, I reckon.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all round.
All round, yeah. If you had to bet your life on someone winning a game of rugby for you, anyhow, shit, I'd pick Michael Jones. He gave me the best chance.
Man. What's your favourite moment as an All Black?
Whew, man. That is it can't be my very first game because we lost. So, I think that 1995 final would be, even though we lost, but the occasion was so great, and that's what. Yeah, I think that'll be my favourite memory, and that's what kind of, in the end, I wasn't even that worried about the games, to be honest. I liked the occasion, I was playing for the big occasion where you go into stadiums and, they're packed and atmosphere and, all of that sort of stuff. That's really what I love. That
must have been intense, that one, that atmosphere there.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And Ellis Park is so, it's a big, old concrete blocks and grey and, and when you get there, you just get the feeling that, oh man, it's like something bad's going to happen here, and then you run out and the Springboks are always so big, they're huge men, and then, that 95 final when we walked out and everything just hit, but you stand there and look around and they had all these army or police or what, just hanging, off, what do they call those bloody ropes, that they were just hanging there with guns and stuff like that. And all around the thing. They were just, thinking, holy hell, But it was, man, beautiful. And the country during that World Cup was awesome. Yeah. So definitely I think that 95 World Cup is my greatest memory.
Man, you speak about your parents. Geez, they must have been proud, bro, when you're,
Yeah. Well, my father actually died before I made it. So he died in 1991, but so he didn't know, but he was like full support. As I was growing up, he did the parent thing. He'd come and take a van load of kids to the game, and he'd be there. He was kind of like the gear guy, and all of that sort of stuff. So, but he had a heart attack in 91, and so he never made it. But but my mother and all of that, and my family we're all brought up the same way, so it was pretty good. It's it's great to do it for family. But even now when I run into people from back in the day, at school or around the neighbourhood and stuff, still chat to them, and it still brings I love that feeling of going back.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I go back now and I drive around Idlewild Ave and up around all Caravel Close and Viscount Street and all around the back. And I just drive around and look at the houses and houses that my mates and people that used to that grew up in, and you just drive around and just I just remember things and go.
How crazy is it going up there, knowing my father, and here we are sitting down together having
exactly.
Man, life is crazy, man.
When I first started hearing about you, and I was thinking, hey, Leteli, hey, that's gotta be, can't be anything else.
Yeah. We were speaking about youth before and the work that you've done. You're doing something now with Papakura Rugby.
Yep.
What, can you talk to us about? I was looking at some of the prizes. I mean,
yeah.
we'll put all the details in the YouTube below. Like, can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. That's it's just a fundraiser at the moment. So, that hasn't really been my club. I've had a lot to do with it over the years, but my club's always been Manukau.
Yeah.
But Papakura, because I've got some family there, my brother-in-law, and he's the president. But I've known them through and then our mate Greg.
Our mate Greg.
He got involved. He's the general manager. But times are hard.
Yeah.
So he's just doing his best to to raise some money for the kids, for the junior club.
Yeah.
And it's all about getting kids out there and the usual. It hasn't changed over all the years. So we're just trying to give them opportunities and stuff, but it's hard. So he's created just a fundraiser where you can win trips to South Africa.
Yeah, some epic prizes there.
Oh, huge. Yeah, and worth, tens of thousands of dollars each in their own. So, we're just doing that.
So are you going along on one of these junkets as well?
Oh, it's not a junket.
But
Yep.
Oh, that's worth it as well. I mean, that'll be the experience.
Oh, exactly. For a rugby person, for anyone really. I mean, and obviously, you pay $100, so the ticket is $100.
Yeah.
But you've got a chance to win these great trips.
Prizes.
Flights and hotels and accommodation and everything. So, well worth it. Even if you're not a rugby person, if you win it, take the trip to South Africa, then go off and do your own thing.
Yeah.
You know, don't even have to go to the game.
Yeah, we'll put all the details, but it's also, I mean, sport is so important for youth, especially in these areas like that. You know?
Yep.
It's
and you're right. You know, at the beginning you were saying, did I see it as a way out? And while I didn't, it's a way out for a lot of people. You know, and the truth of the matter is, you know, there's especially out south, well, all over the place. You know? But people are good at, you know, the Pollies, the Islanders, the Māori, you know, lots of people. People are good naturally at sport.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter what sport. You know, you get out and you know, get into something and it can open so many doors, opportunities, the people you meet, you know, you just never know.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of that comes through sport.
Yeah. What would you say to a young kid, young Polly kid, you know, who has the talent but doesn't think there's much that doors are going to be closed on him? You know, what would you say to a young kid coming through?
Believe in yourself. It's amazing what kind of once you make it, you know, who takes notice. You know, you can find yourself, you know, the struggle is on the way up, and like anything good, you know, it's going to be hard work.
Yeah.
You know, but when you get there, it's amazing the people that want to come and shake your hand, or they want to, you know, give you a chance, or they want to, you know, someone who'd never look at you, and that's on them. That's not on you.
Yeah.
You know, it's that they're that type of person, but take advantage of it. So I would say to a young guy, you know, believe in yourself, take a few chances, and persevere.
Yeah.
And actually have a goal. But it might not be the very end goal, but you know, you take little steps.
Yeah.
You know, to get you kind of on your way, and I just, you know, believe in yourself. Be confident. You know, it's hard just to go, oh right, I believe in myself. I'm going to be. But
it is hard.
Yeah, you tick all the boxes for yourself.
Yeah.
And take away the doubt. You know, go, have I done that? Yep. Have I done that? Yep. Well, in that case, I'm the best I can be. And then put yourself out there, and also move if you have to.
Yeah.
Don't, you know, as much as I never wanted to move to North Harbour, I never wanted to leave Manukau, I never wanted to leave Māngere, I never wanted to leave, you know, everything that I knew. But I did, and once I did, it just all opened up again, and you know, that was it. So don't be afraid to move.
Yeah.
Don't sit in the same place all the time.
Love it. And last question, bro. I ask every guest that comes on, what's your why, your purpose back then or now? What keeps you going if times get tough?
I think when times get tough, I think about the sacrifice that my parents made. You know, and you think about family and friends, and I've had, you know, I've lost people, lost close friends, been lucky with direct, you know, family where we've been, you know, thank goodness, you know, everyone's still healthy and fine and stuff like that. But the why and the keep going in, you know, in hard times is my parents mainly. The sacrifice, you know. You don't know. My father used to work, you know, 2 and 3 full-time jobs just to put food on the table. And my mother brought up 8 kids. You know, as I said, she had 8 kids in 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And them basically. And I loved my childhood too.
Yeah.
So, you know, they did a great job. So
awesome. Oh, thank you so much, bro.
A pleasure, bro.
I really appreciate the share, bro. Thank you.
Not a problem, bro. Enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching, team. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you got something out of this, if it's helped you or someone you know, please go down to the link below and buy us a coffee. It's hard to keep this going, but we must. So please help us to help you. Let's go.